Translator or editor, Kurisu. Papat, like rapid palm thunder, a flurry of slaps snapped Ao Ming awake in an instant. Where am I? Where's Uncle Fu? He asked, his voice trembling like a reed in cold wind. Ling Han lifted a foot and kicked him, saying, Am I asking you? Or are you asking me? Ao Ming clenched his teeth, yet the moment his eyes took in this unfamiliar world, his face drained pale. This was plainly somewhere far from the forest they had been in, or else they would not have ended up out on open plains. Just how long had he been unconscious, for him to be hauled so far? Was Uncle Fu truly such rubbish that he let Ling Han spirit him away? You really want to make an enemy of Wintermoon Sect? He said icily. Since he had already flaunted the status of a direct disciple of Wintermoon Sect, he naturally would not back down again and tarnish the sect's prestige. Pa, Ling Han sent another kick, knocking loose several of Ao Ming's teeth. Fresh blood filled Ao Ming's mouth and smeared his face. Ghastly to behold. Yet there was no need to pity an ingrate. Ling Han said indifferently, Why did you come here? The appearance of Devil Sky Mystery Realm was an accident no one could have foreseen. So Ling Han absolutely did not believe Ao Ming had come because of the Mystery Realm. Ao Ming wiped the blood from the corner of his lips, fear flickering in his eyes. Uncle Fu was no longer at his side, and the name of Wintermoon Sect could not frighten the audacious devil standing before him, so he chose the wiser road and said, I came to find someone. Pa! Another kick landed. Rage surged in him. He wanted to claw his way up from the ground and fight Ling Han to the death, but when he met Ling Han's cold eyes, a chill pierced to his bones and all courage shattered at once. Don't speak in halves. If you keep talking and cutting off, I'll break all your limbs and leave only your mouth to speak, Ling Han said coldly. Ao Ming felt icy air well up from the soles of his feet, swallowing him whole, as if his body had been sealed in frost. If anyone else spat such ruthless words, he would have snorted in contempt. Who dared treat him this way? A disciple of Wintermoon Sect? But Ling Han, this man was truly vicious, and the cold he gave off seemed endless. The person I was looking for is called Feng Yan, he confessed honestly. Feng Yan. The moment that name entered his ears, Ling Han's mind flashed with sudden clarity, and he finally understood where Feng Yan's confidence came from. Wintermoon Sect. Why are you looking for him? What is the relationship between Feng Yan and Wintermoon Sect? Ling Han asked. A few months ago, when Feng Yan was traveling, he met one of the sect's elders, who meant to recruit him as a disciple. But he was given a trial. He must break through to spiritual ocean tier in 3 months. Ao Ming admitted. I wanted to get acquainted with Feng Yan, so I came to Rain Country to become Feng Yan's friend before his reputation became prominent. In the end, Devil Sky Mystery Realm opened while I was on the way, so I entered the Mystery Realm first. Ao Ming was miserable to the extreme. He had come to seek Feng Yang in order to raise his standing within Wintermoon Sect, yet he never imagined that before meeting Feng Yan, he would run headlong into Ling Han, a malignant star. Ling Han found it strange and said, although Feng Yang has a special constitution, he only has a silver mirror body. What tier is that, elder? Flower Blossom? Or spiritual infant? Hearing him mention Flower Blossom and spiritual infant tiers so casually, Ao Ming felt a surge of dread, because in Ling Han's tone, there was not the slightest shred of reverence or fear, as if spiritual infant tier was not even worthy of his notice, and the truth was indeed so. Spiritual infant tier, he said, voice quivering. Strange! Ling Han shook his head. Now he understood where Feng Yan's confidence came from. If he became a direct disciple of a spiritual infant tier expert, then in Rain Country he naturally could do as he pleased. Even the Rain Emperor would not dare lay a finger on him. Otherwise, if an old monster of spiritual infant tier were roused, then even Rain Country's reclusive Flower Blossom tier would be unable to withstand him. The question was a mere silver mirror body truly enough to be taken in by a spiritual infant tier martial artist? Forget silver mirror body. Even a gold mirror body was barely worthy of such an honor, for spiritual infant tier already stood at the 7th stage of cultivation. Above it were deity transformation and heaven tier. And above that was shattering void, which could shatter the skies and enter the divine plane, attaining godhood. Feng Yan must have another secret, something that made a spiritual infant tier cultivator willing to recruit him as a disciple. Ling Han had already sensed this point. For example, despite being 2 layers lower in cultivation, Feng Yan could still fight the eldest prince, though the latter's domineering Son of Heaven fist technique, which could borrow the power of the nation, could not be ignored. Sooner or later we'll fight, and when that time comes, I'll dig out every one of your secrets. Ling Han murmured. Ling Han, if you let me go, I can pretend nothing ever happened. Yang Ming tested his luck. You want another beating? Ling Han asked leisurely. Yang Ming instantly clapped a hand over his mouth in fright. He truly did not have many teeth left for Ling Han to trample. Who is Feng to you? Ling Han finally asked the question that truly concerned him. Yang Ming's expression jumped in shock. How could a mere little martial artist from Rain Country know his father's name? Could it be that he too was impossible? His father had sired countless illegitimate children, reaching into the hundreds, yet every one of them bore the surname Ao. So? Ling Han's expression turned cold. That's my father, Yang Ming hurriedly said. What tier is Yang Ming currently? I'm not sure, Yang Ming said, and when he saw the sharpness in Ling Han's gaze, he hurriedly explained, I don't normally have many chances to see father, and I'm not his favorite child, so I'm not particularly sure. But according to the people within the sect, father had already reached the peak stage of spiritual pedestal tier 5 years ago. He unconsciously straightened his back. Though Feng was rather loose, his martial arts talent was exceptional, with the possibility of stepping into Flower Blossom tier and becoming true core personnel of Winter Moon sect. Ling Han accepted it in silence. After 10 years, Feng's cultivation advancing by leaps and bounds was normal, yet the thought of letting Ling Dongxing take revenge? That would be a bit difficult. He had to raise his cultivation as swiftly as possible so that he could restore Ling Dongxing's spirit base and then use vast quantities of medicinal pills to smash Ling Dongxing straight into Flower Blossom tier. Flower Blossom tier was the greatest dividing line in martial arts. It could practically be said that spiritual pedestal tier cultivators were the strongest among mortals, while Flower Blossom tier was a realm beyond mortals. An indescribable gulf. Even if Ling Han reached the peak of spiritual pedestal tier, it would be impossible to defeat someone in the first layer of Flower Blossom tier, even with his freakish abilities. Being able to stay alive would already be something to take pride in. If Ling Dongxing crossed into Flower Blossom tier first, crushing Feng would be as effortless as turning a palm. He could ignore arts and skills alike, and even the difference in experience. How many sons and daughters does your old man have? Ling Han suddenly grew a little curious. Yang Ming wanted to shake his head and say he didn't know, but then he recalled how ruthless Ling Han was, so he hurriedly answered, I'm not too clear. Father never gathered us together, but at least 300. What a stud pig, Ling Han sneered. Then his expression turned solemn as he asked, Do you know of someone called Yue Hongchang? Editor Kurisu. Yue Hongchang? Yang Ming's face went vacant. He shook his head and said, No. Seeing the chill in Ling Han's gaze, he hastily waved both hands and added, I truly haven't heard of him. Then you're of no use to me anymore? Ling Han's baleful aura rolled outward, sharp as a drawn blade. Yang Ming couldn't help sinking into gloom. Winter Moon sect held several tens of thousands from top to bottom. How could he possibly know every single name? Yet facing Ling Han, this malignant god, he didn't even dare to fart. In his heart, he could only mock himself bitterly. Ling Han's thoughts turned, and he said, Then, what about Yue Zhenshan? Chief Yue? Yang Ming was stunned once more. In Winter Moon sect, Yue Zhenshan's standing could be said to rank second only to Feng, because the Yue family also possessed a reigning elder at the spiritual infant tier, whose strength was not below the family's own elder. Ling Han was merely some nobody from Rain Country. How could he know of the Yue family, and even know that he, Yang Ming, was Feng's son? It was as if he understood Winter Moon sect to the bone. Seeing Ling Han glare, Yang Ming hurriedly said, Chief Yue is the same as father at the peak stage of the spiritual pedestal tier. But Chief Yue can't be compared to father. He only reached it 2 years ago. This fellow even seemed a touch self-satisfied. Ling Han sneered and said, "Are you truly Ao Feng's son? How can you be such trash?" Ao Ming burned with shame and anger, yet he had no strength to refute. The Ao family indeed held great authority within Winter Moon sect, controlling a staggering amount of resources. But the problem was that the Ao family wasn't only Ao Feng. There were many other clansmen and powerful cultivators who depended on the Ao family as well. Besides, Ao Feng had far too many illegitimate children. How could every single one of them possibly receive enough cultivation resources? Some illegitimate children even ran off to other sects because they could obtain more cultivation resources there on the strength of their identity. For example, if Ao Ming came to Huyang Academy and plainly showed he was a Winter Moon sect disciple, now he wanted to enter your Huyang Academy, would you accept him or not? You would definitely have to take him in, and you couldn't ignore him and toss him aside. You'd treat him like a baller. However, most of Ao Feng's illegitimate children still cared about face and wouldn't seek such gratuitous help. Feeling it would diminish their status, Ao Ming was a perfect example. Thus, he relied on his identity as a Winter Moon sect direct disciple, yet his cultivation was only at the 5th layer of the element gathering tier, even lower than Qi Yongye and the rest. Ling Han, I've already told you what you wanted to know. Can you let me go now? He said. Ling Han smiled faintly and said, I saved your life, and you paid for it with the ancient record. So we're even. But you shouldn't have harbored evil thoughts about me. The moment you took that step, you pushed yourself into the abyss of death. What? You're going to kill me? Ao Ming cried out in disbelief. You can't cover this up. When the time comes, the Winter Moon sect will crush you to pieces. Ling Han threw back his head and laughed, then said, Wrong. Even if the Winter Moon sect doesn't come looking for me, I'll kill my way to their doorstep and settle something with them. Especially with your old man. Do you have any last words? Ao Ming gaped. Was this man insane? He was nothing but a small martial artist from Rain Country, yet he claimed he would kill his way to Winter Moon sect to settle matters. Did he not know Winter Moon sect had many powerful martial artists, including several hundred at the spiritual pedestal tier, dozens at the flower blossom tier, and nearly 10 at the spiritual infant tier? Such a force, in the North region, stood among the top ranks. Yet a mere martial artist of the 1st layer of the element gathering tier like you didn't even take them seriously. What in the world was going on? No, wait. This man's presence. Ao Ming's eyes snapped wide and he blurted, How is it possible? You're already in the 1st layer of the Gushing Spring tier. In Winter Moon sect, he had come into contact with far too many martial artists in the Gushing Spring tier. Though he couldn't sense the aura belonging to higher cultivation tiers, if it was merely Gushing Spring tier, it was no problem at all. Several days ago, this fellow had only been at the 1st layer of the element gathering tier, yet now he was at the 1st layer of the Gushing Spring tier. What was happening? Other people's cultivation advanced from 1 to 9, then they broke through a great tier. Could it be that this man only needed to take a single step? Ling Han sighed and said, Your last words are truly strange. Whatever. I don't care. You can die now. No, don't kill me. Don't kill me. Ao Ming hurriedly waved both hands. I can be of use to you. So useless. What would I want you for? Ling Han casually sent out a palm. Hong. A tide of flame swept forth, instantly burning Ao Ming into ashes. Inside the Black Tower, he was a tyrant with abilities beyond those of Heaven tier. He peered outward through the Black Tower. Uncle Fu and the others had already left, likely thinking they had escaped by some method, and were now searching for them like headless flies. He called Lu Yutong and Hu Niu and said, Let's go out. With a thought, he had already brought the 2 girls outside. Hu Niu had already played like this a few times, so at her young age she only found it fun. But Liu Yutong's face went pale with shock. This scene utterly surpassed her understanding. They appeared where the tent had once stood, but the tent was already gone. There was a hole in the ground, probably because Uncle Fu believed they had dug an underground tunnel to escape. Could they dig an underground tunnel in such a short amount of time? It was obviously impossible. Yet, as a spiritual ocean tier cultivator, Uncle Fu had done such a thing. He was clearly so panicked that, in this desperate situation, he tried everything he could think of. Linghan, how come we're here? And where were we just now? Lu Yutong asked, still somewhat shaken. Linghan laughed and said, I obtained a treasure, and we were inside it just now. Lu Yutong was even more shocked. The place they had been in was absurdly vast. How could it be carried on his person? Moreover, they had clearly appeared at the same location, which meant they had always been here. It was such a huge space, so how could Uncle Fu and the others have missed it? Ling Han did not explain further because the Black Tower's existence was a great secret. Those who had not earned his complete trust would never be allowed to enter the Black Tower unless they were never to come out. Let's go into the depths of the mystery realm, he said. Spirits high. The Black Tower was equivalent to a complete guarantee of safety, and Ling Han was filled with confidence to venture into the depths of the mystery realm to uncover its secrets. Lu Yutong and Hu Niu naturally didn't oppose, so the three threaded through the dense forest, pressing ever deeper. A day later, they emerged from the thick woods and saw before them a small mountain range, its ridges rising and falling in uneven waves. From here onward, we're entering the Devil Sky Mystery Realm's danger zone. The beasts here are extremely terrifying, but spirit grasses are also more abundant here, Lu Yutong said. Someone once ate a mysterious fruit here and instantly leapt from the element-gathering tier to the spiritual ocean tier. This was certainly shocking. Yet mystery realms were tied to the shattering void tier, so it wasn't strange that a spirit fruit like that truly existed. However, further down lies a large river that my family has strictly forbidden everyone from crossing. Lu Yutong paused, then explained, No one has ever returned alive from the other side of the river.